encouraged the idea that they were aliens from outer space.
Indeed, it appears the government was so interested that the film's producer, Charles Schneer, was reporting directly to them.
Of course, after the script is finished, it's out of my hands, and I'm sure that Charles submitted it to the front office as well as to various space people.
Oh, here they come. Oh, there they go.
But while American citizens looked to the skies with varying degrees of concern, the men in black were looking closer to home. They were desperate for their own saucers, and just like the Russians, they were looking for former Nazi scientists to help them.
When the Nazis surrendered in 1945, the U.S. military was worried about the German scientists falling into the hands of the Soviets. And the U.S. military was also interested in exploiting the knowledge of these scientists to help develop American programs like missiles and electronics, radar, supersonic aerodynamics, jet engines, and other advanced technologies that the Germans had developed. So the United States set up a program called Overcast and Paperclip to collect these scientists and bring them to the United States.
In some respects, the Americans did very well. They snatched Nazi technology boss Werner von Braun and made him into an invaluable member of the American war machine. They also acquired a great deal of German V-2 rocket technology. But while they played with these new toys with rather more enthusiasm than skill, they knew there was a serious gap in their new armory. They had no German saucers.
It seems that the Air Force was concerned that the Russians may be ahead of us and that we need to have our own, an answer to the Soviet saucers.
Then, one day in 1957, they had a stroke of luck. And once again, it involved the German saucerman Andreas Epp, now living in East Germany.
At some point, he had a falling out with life in Eastern Germany. I don't know what it was. It may have been a divorce. Anyway, he ended up in the West, and he crossed the border then and said, "Hi, here I am. I was spying for the Soviets, and I want to tell you everything I know." And the Americans immediately threw him in jail and began interrogating him. And while he was in jail, he started writing and drawing from memory what he had done for the Soviets, the Soviet saucer plan, and what it was going to be used for.
With the help of Epp and others, America's saucer program began in earnest.
It's an interesting fact that by the late 50s and early 60s, almost all the major aerospace contractors, including Boeing, Convair, Lockheed, North American, were working on concepts for saucer-shaped vehicles for various applications.
This is Lockheed's California division, senior member of the Lockheed family, birthplace of an always exciting family of wings.
Lockheed was working on a number of saucer designs for the US Air Force.
They all have a central engine that would point downward, and the aircraft would take off straight up, transition into horizontal flight, accelerate to very high speed, and then fly at over 100,000 feet. And this was very advanced thinking for the time.
The Lockheed engineers were working on a saucer which used a central jet driving a rotor to create the Coanda or flying saucer effect. Once airborne, it redirected its jet to travel horizontally at supersonic speeds. But Lockheed wasn't the only US corporation working on this technology.
Convair was one of the other major aircraft companies in the 1950s and 60s.
Like Lockheed, Convair had both secret projects and a public face. In this case, Hollywood star James Stewart.
Well, that was quite a day I had there. Believe me, that's quite an airplane.